Good morning and welcome to the Elevate Renatus team call. This is Keely Austin, your host. As of right now, we have 48 participants on the line. Make sure that you do reach out to your team. We don't want any ICMs left behind. Daine Clark, it is my pleasure and honor to bring you out this morning. Just a little bit of information on Daine. Before Renatus, he was working two jobs. He had a job at Apple and he was working in the back. He also was working as a roofer with fair skin and red hair. He was in the sun a lot, and so roofing was really not his cup of tea. He did it because his dad was a roofer. Barely making ends meet, he started looking for other income opportunities, and after finding Renatus, he plugged into the Renatus system, and he listened to his mentor. 2 simple steps that we all need to make sure that we're taking. He applied Velocity Banking to pay down debt and then used that as leverage for a down payment on a duplex, lived in one side and he rented out the other. Fast forward to today, Daine has raised over $6 million from investors to lend on various real estate transactions. And to get to that point for raising money, he was very consistent and frequent. He's grown his team. He's now recognized as a leader, a key leader by our CEO, Bob Snyder. He is a PIT team member, and we are fortunate to have him as our trainer today. Good morning, Daine.
Good morning. How are you doing?
Doing well, thank you. How are you?
Great. Thank you so much for that intro, and good morning, everybody. We got Halloween tomorrow. Super excited for that. Looking forward to it. And I have to apologize right now. I have been under the weather for the last several days, so if I have a coughing fit and for just a couple of seconds, I apologize beforehand. I'll try and mute myself. So if I go dark, just really quickly for a couple of seconds, don't think I just left the call. I'm just coughing and I tried to mute myself so you guys don't have to hear that. But excited for today. I've got some things to do. I would love to share. So let's actually do this. Without further ado, I would love to hear how many people did you get to a meeting between today and a week ago today? So Wednesday last week to today. Go ahead and chime in the chat. How many people? I'm gonna pop up and look through my calendar here really quickly and see how many I had. If you're on the phone and you're not on the Zoom where you can chat, then just hit the buttons on your phone, *6. And you can come off and mute. Even if you are on the Zoom, then feel free to come off and mute as well. But would love to hear how you guys are doing, and the team would love to push some positive energy your way. So let's see. Let me count these up here. 1, 2. Cool. I had 2 this week. Got back on Sunday, and I did 2 on Monday. All right, let me come back over here to Zoom. And all right, cool. Oh man, we got a bunch of people chiming in here. So Daniela had 2. I saw them. They were there last night. I remember. Great job, Daniela. David and Gilda had 2. Robert had 3. Congratulations, both of you guys. Sandra had 2. Kevin had 4, awesome. Julie had 7, congratulations. Esther had 1, and Sherry Asbury had 33. Sherry, if you wouldn't mind sharing with everybody in another chat, how did you get 33 people in the last 7 days? Congratulations, by the way. Cecilia Hake had 8. Holy cow, congratulations, you guys. Oh, Sherry just said 3, not 33. Okay, well, you can still tell everybody how you got 3 if you would like to. I'd love to hear that. YK Salome had 4. Congratulations. Ruthie, thank you so much for being honest with yourself and everybody else. Now, like I say with everybody, notice what happens in the next 7 days to your business. When you sit and be honest with yourself, it starts rising the tides around you, and positive energies are coming to you. Watch what manifests in the next 7 days if you keep working. Okay, and I want to hear about it next week, Ruthie. Yes, go ahead, Sherry.
Okay, so I'm only going to be on the call briefly. But ever since regionals, we've just been thinking of different ways to engage our prospects. And so one thing that we started doing is a short, Teresa in my group, one thing that she started doing is like these 10-minute presentations. So we could have a Zoom call and people could come on for 10 minutes and just, you know, get it like an introduction, a short introduction. And we've been using that with people who, you know, you've been trying to get them out to events and they don't have a lot of time. And so that's one way that we've been using to
I like it. I like
engage people. And then one of the people is my cousin. So that's my first essential sale. And I said I would have 3
Congratulations.
by the end of the month. So
good. Good. Well, I want to hear about that. And I bet everybody else here on the call would love to hear about that too.
Oh,
so
and I want to thank you for doing this because it really has, you know, inspired me to like get out there because I know every week we're going to report.
Well, good. I'm glad you like it. It really helped me when I was new, so I'm just trying to pay that forward for the people that did it for me. So thank you so much for accepting it, and watch what happens. Watch what happens to your business. So looks like I've also got Isidro off of mute. Maybe not. I've also got Tamira Lewis off of mute. Are these by accident? All right, I'll go ahead and just mute those then. Anthony, I've got you off of mute too.
Hey, Dan, how you doing? Hi, everybody.
Good, man. How are you?
Awesome. So what's been working for me is I've been presenting at other people's and so I was on a call with Michael Tracy, and he's Brian Tracy's son, and we had some people on the call, and then we spoke about what we did and spoke about real estate, and I managed to pick up 2 really great leads from that. The week before, I presented in Belfast in Ireland to a room with 44 people.
Nice. That's super cool, man. Way cool.
So drawing people's audience is a good way. In fact, the previous year in Renatus, Bob spoke about using that as a strategy.
Yes. All right, so moving on here, just for sake of time, Allison, you had 1, and thank you, Anthony, as well. Keely had 2, congratulations. Tamara, 0, but let's see, we have our first for next week. Congratulations, Tamara. Amy Hender had 4, congratulations. I love the exclamation mark at the end of that. Just hopped on with Tyler. We're reporting how many people we had to meetings or exposures in the last 7 days. Keely had 3-star. I'm not sure what that means, but we're going to call that awesome because there's a star there. Congratulations. Mac had 1. Congratulations. Oh, looks like everybody already answered Tyler for us. Keely and Ashley. Oh, Tyler had 3. Congratulations, brother. Cool. So let's go ahead and get started with the training. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So if I come here and start broadcast, and holy crap, it is freezing today. Has anybody walked outside? It's like 19 degrees or something like that lower. Let's see, Jenna sorry, I didn't read that all the way. Jenna Manchego had 2 while we were out of state traveling. Congratulations. Good job. All right. So today, if you guys have heard actually, there's 2 things that have been on my mind that I wanted to share. One of them was, and I want to start with this one because it's not going to take super long, but have you ever heard that your greatest weapon, and maybe I shouldn't say a weapon, but you know, if you're thinking about battle and if we are all warriors here in Renatus, and we're real estate entrepreneurs that are so much better equipped because we have an education and the communities all around the country. Some of our best tools, our best weapons are actually, and I'm not very good at like artistic kind of drawing, but let's see if I can draw like a pen. Your best weapon is a pen, an ink pen and a piece of paper. Best thing ever. So I want to talk today just a little bit about being prepared at all times. Doesn't matter where you are, when you are, what's going on. Your best way to prepare is to have a pen and a piece of paper handy at all times. So when I was new with Renatus, and I could not afford, this fancy schmancy iPad stuff that I'm doing now, I would literally carry around in my bag one of those little like page protector things to keep the page, to keep my pages really, really nice and new, so they didn't get all, jumbled or wrinkled or anything like that. I would carry that around with a small stack of paper, and I would carry a pen with me everywhere, every single place that I went. And so I want to call this the whole drawing on a napkin effect. So drawing on a napkin effect. So as you're going about your day and you're making connections, and a lot of you have probably heard me talk about my box training where every single human that you meet has some kind of relationship to real estate, especially if they're, here in the United States. Then you can turn those relationships to real estate somehow, somewhere into money, and whether it's money now, money later, whatever. But anyway, this drawing on a napkin effect. As you're going through, and I actually kind of want to draw this, just for dramatic effect. But as you're going through making connections and learning about new people, and you're using that acronym of the 4. Or I should say, I should do it vertical here, of the 4. So about their family, about their occupation, about their recreation, other than work, what are you most passionate about? And so as you're going about and learning about people, you got to be ready. So I want to tell a quick story that just happened on Monday, actually. So I was, in the process of making new connections, and I met this gentleman. His name's Lucas. And I actually, we met up, and I'm just asking him questions at this point, right? Asking him about family, asking him about work, and come to find out he's a single guy. So we didn't really spend a lot of time on family. And so most of our time as we're getting to know each other, I'm just asking about, his occupation and how he's a software developer, and he writes a bunch of software for financial companies and analytics and data and all this kind of stuff. And so, I'm just like feeding him, because he's telling me about all this stuff. I'm just like, oh my gosh, like you're like a really sharp guy. Holy cow. I'm giving him compliments and things like that. And I genuinely think that, like, he's telling me about how he makes this software for these big, huge companies that need all the financial tracking and all that kind of stuff. And anyway, so then I ask him, I say, man, so at that point I knew he was interested in real estate, because obviously, we scheduled a longer meeting to sit down and talk. But as I'm getting to know him and asking him about, the occupation stuff, and just like I taught this in my regionals training, I've said this on these calls, but I don't care what they say. If they tell you about their family, if they tell you about occupation, if they tell you about their favorite underwater basket weaving class, it doesn't matter what they say. Your job is to figure out how to tie it back to real estate. So I'm asking him about, occupation and stuff. And then I'm just like, oh my gosh, Lucas, how long have you been interested in getting into real estate? Like, that's a really neat skill that you've developed. And obviously you've been thinking about real estate. And there are ways that you can utilize your skills to get into real estate investing. So how long, I love that question, by the way, how long have you been interested in getting into real estate investing? And that is when like everything like starts to build towards, the close. And so And so he starts telling me, oh yeah, but I've actually been thinking about it for a long time, and I do own a house, but I just hate fixing it. Like I think about rental properties and tenants, and I'm just like, oh man, like I gotta, so I start learning that, or first I place him in a passive box, because he's telling me these things, right? He's telling me that, like, yeah, like I owned my house, but I sold it just because like I didn't want to take care of it and all this kind of stuff. So I'm like, dude, this guy doesn't want to own property, right? And so in my mind, I'm putting him in my passive box, and you guys, if you don't know, then I've got my active box, my passive box, my deal box, essentially, where they want to make a deal with their real estate, or the not interested box, not interested yet box. And we won't go into too much detail on that for just for sake of time. But anyway, so I start placing Lucas in the passive box, because as I talk to him a little bit more, I start asking him questions, and he tells me that he's wanted to put his money into real estate, because right now he's mostly vested in the market. And you know what's crazy? Like there's a training out there. It's called Straight Line Persuasion. If anybody wants access to this, I have it at this website address. I'm gonna write it down for you. In fact, here, I'll put it in the chat. And let's go back to Zoom. And in fact, if anybody knows where that is, then you'll do me a favor. Go ahead and type that in there. But it's basically DaineClark.com/straightline. Okay. So if I can get somebody actually that has ever seen that from me or taken that from me, if you'll put that in the chat for everybody, it's DaineClark.com/straightline. Okay, so you guys can all have access to that for free. It's an amazing training on basically how to ask questions and move people forward, if you will. But anyway, so DaineClark.com/straightline. No spaces, no dashes, none of that. Okay, so go ahead, and I'll check back in there and make sure we got it in there so everybody can have access to it. But anyway, so I'm asking all these questions, and he starts telling me that he has wanted to move money into real estate, right? And in that training, Jordan Belfort talks about, he's like, you know what? If you're a professional, like essentially, if I translate this, if you're a real estate entrepreneur, then you're going to need to know certain things about people if you're developing this roadmap of how you can make money together. Okay, so without even like missing a beat, and without even making it awkward in my head, I straight up ask him, it's like, so he's talking about money. I say, so tell me, Lucas, how much money are we talking? And then I just shut up and look at him. Okay, and if you'll excuse me really fast, let me cough. Okay, and we're back. and so anyway, so I asked him, so tell me, Lucas, how much we talking? How much money we talking? And so he's like, about $100,000 is what I've got, in the market. And I said, okay, so that, you'll notice that when you get into this mode, and you're like, okay, I guarantee he's in one of these two boxes, because of how he's acting at this point. He's getting excited about real estate. He wants to talk about it. And so I'm asking him those questions. Oh, I've got 100,000, but he tells me it's in the market currently. Because he said the word, I'm not liquid. Okay, so I'm like, okay, cool. And so when you're in this mode of asking them more and more questions about that, basically stirred from how long have you been interested in getting into real estate, they will start telling you what questions that you need to ask. Okay? And believe me, the first time you start trying to do this, you are going to struggle. But that's okay. I did, and I didn't let it stop me, and I just kept on going until I got to the point where I am now, and I'm still learning, and I love what I'm learning. But you'll start getting to this point of confidence after you've done it enough times where you're just like, oh yeah, like I just need to know this much information about every single person. And then I can just start, you know, through questions, I can start funneling them down to this roadmap of, hey, let's actually work together and make some money. Okay. And so anyway, so I'm asking him questions. And he tells me I have $100,000. I'm not liquid because it's in the market. And so then it leads me to the very next question where I say, okay. So anyway, so let's see. We go from here, we go to here, where I'm thinking passive because he says he doesn't want to own anything. He says he has $100,000. He says it's not liquid because it's in the market. And so then, like, I'm thinking, okay, in order to get that into real estate, he is going to have to take it out of the market. So the next question that pops into my mind, as he answers that question, I say, well, tell you what, let me ask you this. And this is straight out of the Straight Line Persuasion class that I just gave everybody. But I said, let me ask you a question. So if there were a real estate opportunity, if there were a real estate opportunity that were in front of you, what kind of a return would there have to be in a secure position in real estate? What kind of a return would there have to be for you to pull your money out of the market and put it into real estate? Okay, so if you notice what I did there, he tells me he's got 100,000, but he tells me it's not liquid, right? And there's a lot of reasons he would say something like that. You know, some of it is, I mean, number one, it's probably true, but number two, like he's like, you know, he knows that I'm leading towards where, like, dude, I might actually ask him for money, right? So I just start helping him think about himself of what he really wants to do, okay? And I'm just asking him questions of finding out what he wants, right? Because I don't want to offer him a Reese's if I find out that he actually his favorite candy bar is a Twix, right? And so anyway, so I asked him that question. So what kind of a return would it have to be if you had an opportunity in real estate? What kind of a return would there have to be, offering for you to take your money out of the market? What kind of return would turn your head? And he sits and thinks for just a second. He's like, probably like 8%. Okay, now this is when I get excited because he tells me something that I'm like, oh my gosh, like, dude, I could beat that. I could beat that easy and put this guy in like the most secure spot in real estate, period, and give him an 8% return. Okay. So anyway, so we continue to talk, and at that point, like, I think he sees that I just like light up. Because I'm just like, oh man, like let's talk then. Like if you've got that, then I think I know what flavor of candy bar you have, and how about I unwrap it and hand it to you, and you can enjoy it, right? So anyway, so I say, all right, well, let's talk. And at this point is when I whip out the napkin, right? So back in the day, this is when I would grab my pen and a piece of paper and start drawing. But for me, like, I grab my iPad. And I say, you know what, man, let's sit down, okay? Because at this point, we're just like standing and chatting, right? We're just kind of meeting each other, okay? So I say, cool, let's sit down. You got a minute? And so then I just start drawing basically what I learned in J Massey's classes on real estate sales success and real estate financial strategies. If you guys want me to write those classes down. But so real estate sales success and financial strategies. Amazing classes. They are in your bonus track of the AIT. So this is AIT bonus track. Okay, so I'm asked now. At that point, I'm busting out and I'm drawing stuff and I'm showing, real estate deals. And if we put money into real estate, here's how we can make money on plan A and plan B and plan C. I mean, basically just starts making me look like I am a genius when it comes to putting money into real estate and having plan A where we make money on the deal, plan B, where we make money on the deal, plan C, where we make money on the deal, and plan D, where we make money on the deal. And this one even has the opportunity where we might make more money on the deal because we hold it for longer. And anyway, so I just start showing him this stuff that I learned in those couple of classes in Renatus. Now, obviously, there was a lot more, but these ones were like the main ones that I learned how to do this from J Massey. And so I start talking to him and asking questions. And literally, so I had never like met this guy. I hadn't even talked to him on the phone. Literally, I shook his hand. Nice to meet you, Lucas. And 60 minutes later, he tells me, he says, dude, can I do this? Like, can I give you that $100,000 and let's actually split that? You know, just because of how I pitched it, I wanted him to say this, but can I split that between 2 real estate deals and do $50,000 per deal? So literally went from meeting this person and less than 60 minutes later, he goes, dude, can I give you $100,000 to do this? That would be amazing. Okay. And he starts getting excited about like, man, like I love the, you know, the business model. So in other words, now that I've showed him this, you know, in my mind, I put him in this passive box because of things that he's saying. And he was giving me all of these different cues and things like that where, you know, led me to believe that. But after I opened him up by sharing, you know, some, you know, you guys might have heard me say this, but here I am. I call this blowing your nose. So blow your nose, KNOWS. Okay, so blow your nose in front of them, where you just show them what you know, okay, or a portion of it, right? The tip of the iceberg of what you know. Okay, so at that point, he's just like, oh my gosh, Daine's a genius. Yeah, so yeah, he wants to give me money, and then he's getting excited about, you know, the business, and like, man, like how did you learn how to do this? And so immediately my brain starts taking me to, let's change colors here, to blue actually. My brain starts taking me like, oh my gosh, he actually wants to be active. He just doesn't want to own real estate. He is an entrepreneur at heart. He just doesn't want to manage bricks and sticks. Okay, so he wants to do a more of a real estate strategy of the business behind the business. And so that's when I get even more excited at this point. It's like, all right, man, well, let's do this. So let me actually show you. So instead of me saying like, hey, yeah, like I'll find us a deal, let's work together and you're just a bank and fund my, you know, deals that I can bring. I say, I'm actually really curious to know what you think about my whole business model, right? Of basically how like I'm doing my real estate stuff, and I'm also an independent contractor with Renatus. I didn't say that to him, but essentially this is what I'm thinking in my mind. Like, and I say that word, or I say that sentence. I say, I'm actually really curious to know what you think about like my whole business model of how, you know, I basically got my start as a real estate entrepreneur. And at this point, you know, because, you know, this guy is, you know, a little bit more, you know, successful than your average person. You know, your average person doesn't have $100,000 just sitting in a bank account or even sitting in the market that they could pull out. I mean, a lot of people obviously have a lot more than that, but your average person, you know, so anyway, so in other words, like it would be not that hard to venture that, you know, he's got a little bit of an ego, right? He's proud of himself, and that's not a bad thing. But essentially, I ask him that question that really like strokes his ego, that validates him, that I think that he is a very sharp guy. So I ask him that question. And in case you guys didn't have a chance to write that down, question is, so I would actually be so curious to know what you think about, you know, my whole business model of how I got my start as a real estate entrepreneur. And then we start talking about that. I was like, yeah. So like I talked about education. I talked about, you know, the learning and surrounding myself with, you know, I didn't say Renatus. I didn't say that I paid. I basically just said, you know, education, community, you know, start talking about all of the awesome things, you know, 100-foot view things about Renatus that, I mean, anybody would be like, oh my gosh, that's a good idea. Like, for example, like, yeah, like I surrounded myself with a community of all these different real estate investors that were a lot more successful than myself. in real estate, and so that I could start gleaning from them, right? And who's going to be like, dude, that's not a good idea. Like, nobody's going to say that, right? So check one, or, basically, what do you want to call that? First plus is he's like, yeah, that's a great idea. Surround yourself with a community of real estate investors that are more successful than you, right? So positivity, number one. Number two, I'm like, yeah, I started learning, and I surround myself with all these people that are of the same mindset, where all of us are just on this track of saying, hey, I want to learn everything I can about real estate, from you, from him, from her, from them, from, successful people, from new people. And so I focused a lot on just getting educated in the field so that I could talk the jargon and learn best practices and learn what not to do, right? So now I'm talking about education and just saying it in a way where he's like, nobody can argue. Nobody can be like, oh, dude, that's not a good idea. So get educated in the real estate before you, and obviously I'm not talking about I'm selling him anything. I'm just talking about what I did and and the people that I surround myself with. Yeah. So anyway, so I can see him getting excited about this, as we're drawing here on a napkin and I call my iPad basically an expensive napkin. Most expensive napkin I've ever used. I have not yet used it to actually, I guess you could say I use this napkin to blow my nose all the time. But anyway, so he starts getting excited. And so immediately when you've hooked somebody, that's when it's time to shut up, right? You've probably heard me say that before. So I basically tell him, I say, tell you what, I got to go here pretty soon. But I would, in the same light of I want to know what you think, I said, I would actually love to know what you think about my community. So in fact, next Thursday night at 7 p.m., and I whip out my calendar, right? So I pull up my calendar, I say, all right, tell you what, next Thursday night at 7 p.m., we're going to be getting together with all of our real estate investor friends, and we do this every week, because I typically don't say that to people. I want to create a scarcity, but because of the things that he has said, where he's excited, he's thinking entrepreneur, he's thinking like an entrepreneur, where he's like, man, you could do this, you could scale that. He's giving me advice at this point of things that I could do, and he doesn't know anything about my business, right? Just because I've stroked his ego. And so I tell him, tell you what, come down Thursday night. Dude, there's going to be 200 people here. We do this every single week. And he's just blown away. He's like, dude, you put 200 people that show up just for the purpose of real estate investing every single week. I was like, yeah, dude, I kind of joke and I call it real estate church. And he kind of laughs a little bit. And I say, cool. So what's your email? So I grab his email. I've obviously already got his phone number. And I say, cool, I'm going to send you a calendar invite. So you can see, Lucas Earl right here. And I tell him, so when you get this invite, go ahead and accept it. And he accepted it right there in front of me. Bam, I send him this invite. And he accepts. He's like, cool. Yeah, I'm super stoked. This is gonna be sweet. And I say, cool. And then basically just say, all right, bye. Because at that point I don't want him to continue asking more and more questions. At that point, I just want him to get excited about coming and seeing this meeting and telling him, about some of the people that he's going to meet. Now, obviously, I'll be doing the presentation that night, but if I wasn't, I would just start talking about the person that is going to be doing the presentation that night, and just start blowing up, how amazing this person is and what they've done, and man, I'm super excited to have you meet this person, right? It's awesome to be able to point to people, in our community and edify them, because then it makes it personal, and your show-up ratio, drastically improves, because now they're thinking about oh man, he's going to introduce me to someone. Yeah, it's cool to get introduced to a community. That's a lot of people. That's intimidating, right? But if you say, hey, there is someone that I want you to meet down there, and you kind of tell their story and edify them just a little bit, then now it's personal. Okay. So anyway, so he commits to come to the meeting next Thursday night, and we've got this, you know, little groundwork basically of the things that we've drawn up and drawn on the napkin, and I mean, he feels like this is a great opportunity, and I haven't even given him anything yet. I just told him a couple of stories of you know, things that are possible that I learned from J Massey's classes, and I didn't even give him like the full everything. I just said, hey, like, you know, we can buy this real estate, we can get $100,000 discounts on it, and we focus on buying it, you know, cash instead of buying houses using, you know, traditional banks and credit scores and things like that, and tax returns and W-2s. And he's just like, anyway, he's soaking it up, absolutely soaking it up, high level stuff. Okay, so that, it's funny because I didn't really want to spend a ton of time on this, but it turned into I hope this turned into valuable. I didn't want to go this deep, but essentially the drawing on a napkin effect. Always, always, always have your tool with you, a pen and a piece of paper, somehow, somewhere, you know, whatever it takes, because, I mean, everybody can afford a piece of paper and a pen. Always, always, always have that with you, right? And then on the flip side, always have some kind of mobile device, because at some point, like for example, if it, now obviously I don't have a crystal ball, I don't know what Lucas is going to think of Renatus itself, but at the end of the day, if he gets excited, I want to put his order in right off the bat, right? So always, always have your mobile device where you get them to sign something. I mean, even in real estate, when you're closing real estate deals, you want them to sign something. I mean, anybody you do business with, you want them to sign something. I mean, even your contractors, when you're getting bids from them to fix your real estate deals, right? You got to sign stuff. So anyway, signatures. But anyway, so now, after he comes down on Thursday night, and you guys have all heard this, but after he comes down on Thursday night, you know, I'm going to ask him, like, so what'd you like best? You know, what was, or let me ask you a question, you know, does this make sense to you? Do you like the idea? Right? And it's so funny because you guys have all heard me say that, you know, maybe answer that or ask that question before. Before I even had the opportunity to ask that question, he's like, man, I really like this idea. I was like, ah, crap, what do I say now? Excuse me. Give me some. Okay, and we're back. Sorry about that. It's so funny because he basically answered the question before I even had the opportunity to ask it. And I just like froze, like, wait, what do I ask now? So I was like, all right, so, you know, so does this make sense to you? Instead of asking him, do you like the idea? He's like, yeah, this makes sense. So anyway, drawing on a napkin effect. Always be ready to sit down and draw something. And I mean, you'd be surprised at how many businesses started because people were just drawing on a napkin, right? It just, I don't know, there's something scientific about it, I'm guessing. But always have that ready. All right, let me jump over to the Zoom really fast and see if I've got any questions. If you have any questions, would love to answer them. We've got a few minutes here. So let's see. Perfect. Thank you so much, Amy, for putting that in there. Let's make sure this works. Yes. Cool. Works great. So straight line persuasion. Awesome. Expensive napkin. Blow your nose. Good job, Keely. All right. So anybody have any questions? Come off and mute. Type in the chat. Would love to see if if there's anything that I didn't make crystal clear for you, or even just questions in general that are off topic, doesn't matter. Let's spend the last, maybe five minutes here and answer a couple questions. And if not, that means I did very, very well, and everybody is going to go do this. Sandra, I've got you off the mute.
Yes, I have someone that is a little bit related to your story right now. I'm still undecided in which box should I put him. I know he's doing real estate already. He's an investor.
Okay, so active, definitely active.
Okay, but he's not liquid.
Okay.
And I have been moving him into different scenarios. He's still interested because he's still showing up. But let's say that I'm looking for a solution to his case. He is doing rentals.
Okay.
He's not liquid, and he sees the value of the community, but still undecided to join.
Yeah. So basically, we just need to solve more of his needs, and he needs to see that. So, obviously without knowing him or knowing more about the situation, but from just the thing that you said, the first thing that pops into my mind is, if he's not liquid, what are his goals? Does he want to be more liquid? Is he basically running at capacity of what he wants in his real estate portfolio, or does he want to grow? And so if he's hungry, and this is like the only reason this is the only reason anybody buys Renatus, is because they're hungry, right? You look at like a Mike Kessler did like 90 some odd real estate transactions before he ever bought Renatus, but he was hungry. Even though he did 90 deals, he wanted to do more, and he looked at our community and he said, this could help me do more, because he was hungry, right? And so with your guest, the question is he hungry, right? And so you're going to have to extract that, ask him a couple of questions, like, and stroke his ego a little bit. Like, man, like I'm sitting here, and I've actually straight up asked this question before to somebody like this. Like, man, like, you've got all these deals, like, you're already doing real estate. Like, the biggest question I have in my mind is, like, how can I even help you? Because you're freaking amazing, They will tell you.
Yes.
Because if you sit there and tell them how amazing they are, they'll be like, oh, well, and they'll straight up tell you, like, oh, yeah, well, they'll tell you why they're not amazing, right? It's weird. It's a phenomenon. But basically, you just need to extract from him, what does he need to grow? And then you can be like, cool, well, this would be worth investing in, joining the community and getting access to some more education. Now, obviously, he doesn't need to go through, like, real estate foundations in the essentials classes. He just needs things like maybe raising money and partnerships. And J Massey's classes that I talked about in the bonus track. Right. So anyway, I hope that helps. Any other questions? Let's see. I saw a couple of texts here.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you, Sandra. Kevin, can you repeat the question about being curious about their feedback on your business? So let's see, at the end, I say, so let me ask you a question. Sorry. I say, so I'd be really curious to know what you think about my business model. MODEL, my business model. Because basically my business model is become an ICM with Renatus, an independent contracted marketer, get yourself educated and go do real estate, right? So that's my business model. Buy Renatus. That was my business model, right? And so I asked them that question, and it's going to stroke their ego. So again, I'm really curious to know what you think about my business model. And then I basically just used that question for him to be like, yeah, like, I'd love to give you my opinion. I'm glad you value my opinion. And then I say, cool, come Thursday. What's your email? I'll send you an invite, a calendar invite. Go ahead and accept that when it comes through, that kind of thing. So great question, Kevin. All right, we've got time. Maybe one more question. Either come off the mute, type it in the chat, and then we'll call it a morning. You know who you are. So you've just got that one thing that you want to ask. Or comment, too. Some people have comments, and I love comments.
Hello.
Let's see. I just lost you. Was it Loren's? Loren's? I might have just lost you. See if I can find you. Loren's, come off of mute again if you can. You there, Loren's? Oh, maybe he didn't want to be off the mute. All right. Anybody? Let's see. Did somebody chat? Or are we going to call it a day? Cool. Well, let's go ahead and call it a day. Thank you all, and hope this was valuable for you. And we'll see you all. Happy Halloween. Go trick or treating. Hug hug your mama, and we'll see you next week.